He's doing what Miami Dolphins.
The pressure, he's in trouble. Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it!
You have got to be kidding me.
Jalen Waddle. It's a Dolphin touchdown.
Throwing deep upfield on the near side, man open, touchdown! Looking deep, he's got a man! Touchdown!
The run from Tua Tagovailoa.
Touchdown!
He's going deep! He's got it for a touchdown! He's in!
Tagovailoa trying to make up for it. Fire to the end zone. Touchdown!
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. 1, 2, 3, let's go!
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one. I got some stuff going on, so I wanted to get this show out earlier than usual tonight. I hope everyone is having a fantastic start to the week. Basically for me, where I'm at here, listen, we got a lot to talk about here because I do think, there are some possibilities that could be happening here as we move forward with the Miami Dolphins. Everyone obviously we're all still hurting from the loss yesterday. It was a tough pill to swallow. I get it. But now there are some factors coming into play that, I think do need to be covered and do need to be discussed, really. For me at least, with some big news broke just now that is kind of probably going to go under the radar right now. But I do think it is something you should pay attention to. And what I'm talking about is this bit of news. Jim Harbaugh is expected to leave Michigan for the NFL if he is offered a job. I've heard Denver. I got a text actually before this broke at what time? Right, 2:52. At about 2:00, I got a message today that I know that Denver is interested, and then Albright ended up posting that Denver is interested and will check in with Harbaugh. And why this matters is because Stephen Ross pursued Jim Harbaugh heavily last year. And I was the first one on it. I was reporting on it from the get-go. And I'm getting out ahead of this one too. If this is true, Stephen Ross will check in on Jim Harbaugh. Now, whether something happens and Harbaugh is coaching the Miami Dolphins, I don't know. But I'm telling you right now, Stephen Ross is a Jim Harbaugh fan. He brought Jim Harbaugh to Michigan last year, fully expected. I mean, again, tied into someone in the NFL. I was told about, I believe the Brian Flores, that news broke on a Wednesday with everything about Brian Flores. And I was told on the Sunday night and shown some things where Harbaugh was telling people close to him he expected to be our head coach. So, and with what's happened in terms of collapse-wise with McDaniel, the problem is it's been a collapse of epic proportions. I would keep my eye on the Harbaugh stuff. We're going to check in. Listen, last year, people don't realize how close we were That Minnesota visit was all optics last year. There was no interest from Harbaugh long-term in Minnesota. Okay? Minnesota's owner, buddy with Stephen Ross. That was all optics. Ross was going to swoop in and say, oh, listen, I'm not taking him from the alma mater. I'm stopping him from leaving the alma mater. That was going to be the play. And then what happened? The Flores news broke. And then the next day he went to that Minnesota visit. Minnesota didn't even offer him a contract. They didn't even offer him a job. It was all optics. It was all optics. And that's to the extent Ross was going to go last year. Listen, I'm going to tell you this right now. You're going to hear rumblings, especially if we do not make the playoffs. If we do not make the playoffs, 110%. He's going to check in. Now, do I think he is going to be the head coach? I don't know how that'll play out. I don't know if he's going to be interested in going, and I know Albright's reporting it. I don't know how interested. I know Sean Payton is not interested in Denver at all, and Russell Wilson's a big factor of it. And I know last year a thing I was told was if Harbaugh was coming, Chris Grier would be gone. And another thing on top of that, too, he's, people got to remember when Harbaugh won a Super Bowl, who was his defensive coordinator? When he won a Super Bowl in San Francisco, who was his coordinator? Vic Fangio. So, listen. I think this is just, I'm telling you something because this is worth monitoring. With what went down last year between us and Harbaugh, yeah, this is definitely worth monitoring. Because he'll come in. I think Boyer and Crossman are gone no matter what. Even if McDaniel, listen, and by the way, I think Harbaugh is the only one who has a chance at replacing McDaniel. I don't think Peyton's coming here. I don't think anyone else is coming here. And the only reason I think Harbaugh has a chance is because Stephen Ross has a love affair for the guy. That's why. Because I know how much Ross loves the guy. And if I didn't think that, if I didn't think that, I don't think Sean Payton's an option. I don't think anyone else is an option. I literally only think Harbaugh is going to be checked in on and be any form of an option because of Ross's ties to him. That's why. So I don't think McDaniel's going to get replaced by just anybody. I don't think they're going to fire McDaniel. I think this is the only guy they would replace McDaniel with. This is the only guy they would replace him with, I think. At least this year. I am of the belief they're going to give Tua and him another year. They're going to fire Crossman. They're going to fire Boyer. McDaniel's going to get a chance to go bring in his guys to fill out that staff. They're going to say, you have a year. Fill it out. Get the defense much better than what it was in terms of number-wise this year. And turn it around. That's what I think is going to happen. Because of this collapse. Listen, if we didn't collapse like this, I wouldn't even be saying that. I wouldn't even be saying that, they're going to give Tua and McDaniel another year and go from there. I'd be saying, man, if we were 8-3 and we would have got to 10-5 at one point, man, I wouldn't even be... second year, they'd have much more than a second year. But because the way this season is ending, especially if they miss the playoffs... Dude, what is Ross? 83, 84? So, he's not going to sit around and wait. He's just not going to sit around and wait. So the impatience that runs through some of the fan base, sometimes it runs all the way to the top in this organization. So as much as, listen, I'm the first person that I was advocating for Mike McDaniel as OC in 2021. So my McDaniel ties run deep. I love the guy. But let's call a spade a spade. The situational play calling has been abysmal from him. It's just, and, we talk about how you find out how young coaches, who they are when they deal with adversity, and we're dealing with adversity up the yin-yang, and we're just not responding right now. So, and I don't think it's good optics to fire McDaniel after year one. So I don't think they'll fire. The only person I think they would replace with McDaniel with is Jim Harbaugh. That's it. That's literally the only one. So anyone expecting me to think, oh, they're going to bring in Sean Payton, anyone expecting me to think, oh, they're going to, no. And the only reason I think Jim Harbaugh stands a chance is, again, Ross loves the guy. And Matthew Rankin's right. The play designs, the scheme itself, everything is fantastic. He's a great schemer. He's a great play designer, but the play calling is clearly an issue. Like, we got Skylar coming in. We're down by 2 points, and we're dropping Skylar back consistently like we're down by 11 yesterday. Like, what's going on? So, and especially if you don't make a playoff starting off 8-3, we've seen Ross. Want to talk about an impatient trigger finger. I mean, the guy's the definition of it. So, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say right now. Listen, do I want to be sitting up here week 17, year one of this guy's, start as head, this guy's first year as head coach for us? Do I want to be sitting up here saying this? No. But at the same time, I got to be objective and realistic. If you know how much Stephen Ross adores and holds Jim Harbaugh in such high regard, then you would understand where I'm coming from. He's at least going to check in and put feelers out. So, listen, and I don't think it's good optics firing a first-year head coach after 1 year, even if you are going to get your guy in Harbaugh. I don't think it's good optics. I think it's terrible optics. But we've been nothing but terrible optics since Stephen Ross has taken over this team, so it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. Period. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. So, we'll see how it plays out. We'll see where it goes. It's just not a fun situation right now. I know the intro says it's a beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan, but boy, is it anything but that right now. It is a painful time. This is, it's the same thing over and over again. People want to call this the most epic collapse in history, and it is of epic proportions. Do not get me wrong. But let's also remember, the Dolphins were 9-2 after winning in Dallas on Thanksgiving in 1993. They then lost 5 in a row and missed the playoffs. That was the worst regular season collapse in Dolphins history. So right now, what you're kind of experiencing could end up being the second worst. We were 9-2. We were 8-3 this time. Now, in this scenario, we have one extra game than what they had in 93. But in 1993, we went from 9-2 to not making the playoffs. So I want people to, because I've already been suspicious that a lot of people in this community weren't really actually watching when Marino was around. And you got to remember what happened in that year. Marino ruptures his Achilles in week 5, right? But they managed to win games without him, though. Right? Scott Mitchell came in, but then he became injured when we were 9-2. And then when our backup quarterback, again, we were dealing with multiple quarterback injuries that year, and we did not make the playoffs. And that Dolphins team is the only 9-2 Dolphins team to never make the. That 9-2 Dolphins team is the only 9-2 NFL team to never make the playoffs. Because, I mean, if you remember that year, Marino got hurt, then Scott Mitchell got hurt. Then they had to go to guys like Doug Peterson and Steve DeBerg. Right? And it just wasn't pretty. So, yeah, it wasn't pretty. We lost. We ended up losing, to the Giants, the Steelers, the Bills, the Chargers, and the Patriots. And the last game of the season, we lost in overtime to make it even worse. The Steelers, we lost by 1 point. The Giants, we lost by 5. So, and 3 of those last 5 we lost at home. 3 of those 5 games we lost were at home. And we ended up getting leaped by the Bills, who finished 12-4. So, we've been down this road before, right? Like I sang yesterday. Hello, darkness, my old friend. All right? We've been down this road before. So, listen. I don't know what to say, man. Now, if you were watching yesterday, you will remember that I put up a tweet talking about what Jake Glazer said, and let's get in. I want to show y'all exactly, because I got the actual segment for y'all, I believe, loaded up here. Lucky Luciano with the donation. And Lucky Luciano says, Ravens were 8-3 last year, lost number 8, and finished 0-6. So there you go. There you go. It happens, and it's happening to us. What a beautiful day, huh? So there you go. At least we're not the only ones, huh? Could be worse. At least we're not the only ones. That's all I know. Could be worse. We've got company on this journey of an epic collapse. I know it don't make it feel any easier. Trust me. I know it don't make it feel any easier at all. So, but there you go. Now, Tua will not be playing this weekend. Okay? Let's go over this right now. All right? This is what Jake Glazer said. Okay, let's start off with what Jake Glazer said, okay? I'm going to play what Jake Glazer said, and we'll go from there.
Jay, and on that note, let's talk about a quarterback that I think a lot of people thought we might see play today, Jalen Hurts, but he's not. Why not?
Exactly what TB talked about. Because the way Gardner Minshew played last week, the plan was to actually play him this week if it was a must-win for them. But because of how Gardner Minshew played last week, they said, let's just hold him out another week. And look, he practiced this week through with good velocity. And the plan is, if next week's game is a must-win, the plan is to play Jalen Hurts next week. But they just wanted to be extra cautious with him because of how well Gardner played.
All right, last week you broke the story that Washington might make a move at quarterback. They wound up doing that. The question is it Carson Wentz's job for good now?
I talked to Ron Rivera last night exactly about that, and that's what the message that was conveyed. He doesn't want to keep going back and forth between Heineke and Carson Wentz. He says, I need to get a spark out of that position. Carson, I need that spark from you. So the plan is to ride him for the rest of the season.
An interesting situation down in Miami. Tua Tagovailoa is out today. He suffered another concussion. The question now is, what's his future?
So here's the deal. on Monday when he was in film with Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel started asking him, why are you making some of these decisions and some of these plays? And he couldn't remember some of these plays. So they got very concerned. They sent him obviously to the medical department to get further evaluation. But I know as far as Tua is concerned, there's people saying, well, is he ever going to play again? Is he going to play again this year? Tua does plan to play again this year if they make the playoffs. He would like to play this year if they make the playoffs.
If one more concussion caused him not to remember, he probably shouldn't. That sounds scary. All right. Yeah. We'll get more from Jay a little bit later.
So there you go. You heard it right there. Jake Laser told all of y'all, if they make the playoffs, he would like to play again. All right? So if he would like to make the playoffs, if we make the playoffs, he would like to play again, okay? And then this is what happened not too long ago, probably about 40 minutes ago. McDaniel, during his presser, was asked this. McDaniel declines to name starting QB for Sunday. I'm preparing for Skylar and Teddy, so no Tua on Sunday. Right then, right there, it is telling you no Tua Sunday. Do not expect Tua Tagovailoa to suit up on Sunday. It's right there in front of you. McDaniel literally just had his presser, and this is exactly what he said. So, do not expect to see Tua Tagovailoa in uniform this weekend. It's going to be Teddy, or it's going to be, Skylar. And further on Teddy, why I think it's going to be Skylar. Teddy Bridgewater breaking, he's believed to have broken a finger on his throwing hand. And what I've heard is it's the ring and pinky finger. I've heard it's 2 fingers. From what I've heard, it's 2 fingers. I've heard it's the pinky and the ring. Now, maybe one's jammed and the other's broken, but I've heard he's dealing with 2 fingers on that hand, not just one. It's the pinky finger and the ring finger he's dealing with. So, right then and there, that tells you this is trending towards our season is looking like it's going to be on the shoulders of Skylar Thompson. So, yeah. We got to root for the Bills tonight. If the Bills win tonight, they are tied for the first seed with KC. So, yeah. We got to hope they win tonight. And then, because KC is going to beat Vegas probably on Saturday. And then that'll give them... And I believe if they're a tie at the top, Buffalo, they get the first seed. So we need Buffalo to beat Cincy tonight. Then we need KC to handle business on Saturday against Las Vegas. And then Buffalo needs to beat the Bills. Sorry, Buffalo needs to beat the Patriots. And we need to beat the Jets. That is our way in. That is literally our way in. Bills win tonight. KC wins Saturday. Bills handle business against the Patriots, and we handle business against the Jets. And, man, you listen. I appreciate the positivity. I really do. So I'm going to put it on the screen because I appreciate the positivity so much. Philip says, here's the season. Started 3-game win streak, then 3-game losing streak, then 5 wins in a row, then 5 losses in a row. Our win streak begins now. We will win 4 in a row, and we are in the Super Bowl. I don't know, brother. I appreciate it, but I don't know, brother. Holy, I don't know. Shout out to Dennis Klassen for joining the Pro Bowl. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to watch. I mean, hey, we'll be live here like we are every week, but... Reason, does it even matter? Are we even good enough to do anything in the playoffs, even if they get in? Hey, If Tua's healthy and Tua can play, we can win a game. But if he can be healthy enough and if he can play. So, I'm going to tell you this. I was on the phone with someone today. And I said to them, this is going to be our luck. We're going to sneak into the playoffs, right? We're going to sneak in to the playoffs. And then it's going to come down to a crucial moment in Kansas City where we need a Jason Sanders field goal. And we all know what's going to happen from there. You watch. I was making that joke with someone today, and man, am I joking? I don't know. So, I mean, to me, that would just be so ironic that we finally win, right? We would finally win, and then what happens? Right? And then what would happen? Of course, we would have Jason Sanders put in the big moment and blow it. That just feels like that's just story that writes itself. That story literally writes itself, man. So, I mean, that's what I'm expecting. And I ain't even lying. If we get in, I totally expect it to come down to Jason Sanders and he blows it. Expecting any difference would be lying to yourself. It's just, that's the way the season is writing itself out to be. I don't know why. It just is. It just is, man. Oh, it just is. All right, let's get into the recap. Let's go over some things. We have the snap counts from yesterday. And let's get into those snap counts. So, offensively, when you look at the snap counts, this was the highest snap count for Mike Gesicki since week 12. It was the lowest snap count this season for Ingold, and obviously it's because he was playing with a hand injury. The guy was rocking a cast. I mean, yes, and Skylar Thompson did throw to a man with a cast on. You can figure that one out. And then you see Greg Little having to step in and take on 39 snaps because Lamb was only able to finish 32 before his day was ended. And Jeff Wilson, once again, leading the way, 46 snaps compared to Mostert's 30. So that is the offensive snap count. The defensive snap count for you guys, it looks like this. You see Jerome Baker down to 82% of the snaps. Phillips was your leading linebacker. He saw about 88%. Zach Seiler, Christian Wilkins each saw 90% of the snaps. Holland out there for 95%. And then Keon Crossan and Kader Kohu were clearly CB1, CB2 as they were out there for 98% of the defensive snaps. Alana Roberts out there for only 68%. Raekwon Davis rotating with Jason Jenkins. Jason Jenkins saw about 28% of the snaps. Raekwon saw about 68% of the snaps. Verone McKinley, even with Rowe back and seeing 87% of the snaps, it still tried to get Verone McKinley involved. He saw a total of 10 snaps. Duke Riley only saw 5 snaps, and one of them happened to be on a terrible play call by Josh Boyer that led to a touchdown with no coverage out on the left side. And then Noah Benogany only saw 50% of the snaps. So when we are depleted at the most to our secondary, Noah Benogany is still only good for 30 snaps. I mean, if that doesn't tell you he ain't sticking around, I don't know what will. It ain't going to be good long term for him, that's for sure. I mean, Noah Benogany only seeing 30 snaps when you have all those kind of injuries. That's kind of crazy, man. That's kind of crazy to me. Teddy Bridgewater. Man. Anyways, let's get into the PFF grades. We will look and see how everyone graded out. Eichenberg, just so y'all know, did not grade out very well at all. All right. Oh, let's get into the PFF right there. All right. Offensively, this is how the team graded out. Mostert was your highest graded player. Durham Smythe at number 2. Brandon Shell at number 3. Kendall Lamb came in at number 4. And then Teddy Bridgewater at 5, even with the pick 6. So he must have had a pretty decent grade before the pick 6 if he still finished with a 66.8. All the way at the bottom, Liam Eichenberg, your worst graded. He did not, he looked like he was turning a corner the few games before he got hurt. He reverted right back to what he was before he was turning those corners. He was just olaying people through the offensive line tomorrow. When we watch the film tomorrow, oh my God, wait till you see some of the stuff. So Eichenberg, Ingold, Hunter Long, Robert Hunt, and River Craycraft were your worst graded offensive players, bottom 5. Listen, the questions got to start to be asked. Listen, obviously we need to figure out left guard. We need to figure out right tackle. But does this team need to also look into options over Robert Hunt? Robert Hunt has been taking key penalties on third downs all year. Robert Hunt has not looked like he's taken that step forward, and maybe it's because he truly is a power gap guy, the scheme he was just drafted into by us, and now that we've changed schemes, maybe it's just not him, but Robert Hunt has not had a very, very, very good season. He has not had a good season compared to his first 2 in Miami. Okay, so I do think, if you want my honest opinion, I would kick Connor back to left guard. I'd find a legitimate center. I would look at a right guard and right tackle upgrade, and Hunt can be a solid swing option. So we'll see how it plays out. Now, passing. Skylar. This is what Skylar looked like. This is his passing chart. 0 for 1 from beyond 20. He was 2 for 5 from beyond 10 yards and a touchdown. He was 6 for 12 short range and an interception. And then he was 1 for 2 behind the line of scrimmage. When he was kept clean, he was 6 for 11 for a touchdown and an interception with a 54.5 completion percentage, which would not have changed with the adjustment. His yards per attempt was 4.8, and his average depth of target was 6.5. Very, very low. Those are bottom of the league average depth of target and yards per attempt. Under pressure, his yards per attempt didn't go up that higher. He was 6 for 10 for 5.1 yards per attempt, but his adjusted completion percentage would have went from 60% all the way up to 77.8% because he had drops on some of his throws there. On play action, he was 1 for 2. They only put him in play action. Straight dropbacks, though, 19 of his plays were straight dropbacks. Meaning no play action, nothing. Just straight dropping him back and letting it rip. I don't know why they were doing that with Skylar yesterday. I don't know why you weren't predicating off the run. I don't get it. McDaniel, you literally saw the formula right in front of you with what Shanahan did with Purdy. Run the football, get the run game going, and everything your guy does is predicated off that run game. That's what Purdy's been doing, and they've been opening up slowly, and yet you refuse to do it with Skylar Thompson. Unreal. Now, Teddy Bridgewater. This is what he looked like. He was 1 for 3 from beyond 20. He was 3 for 6 from 10 to 20 with an interception. He was money from the line of scrimmage to 10-yard marker, as he was 6 for 7 and a touchdown, and then he was 2 for 2 behind the line of scrimmage. Now, when Teddy was kept clean, he was 9 of 14 for 64.3% completion percentage 125 yards, an 8.9 yards per attempt, and a 10-yard average depth per target, and his adjusted completion percentage would have stayed the same. Under pressure, he was 3 of 5 for 60%. Adjusted completion percentage would have been 75. His yards per attempt was 7.2. His average depth of target was 13 yards, and he had a touchdown. So you could see the jump in yards per attempt and average depth of target when kept clean and under pressure from Bridgewater compared to Skylar. It's night and day. But also what's night and day, look at this. Play action. Bridgewater was off of it 8 times. 8 of his dropbacks were play action compared to 14 of his being straight dropbacks. So why such a stark contrast in how you called your passing plays between a guy you prepared for and a guy who was the rookie? And a stark contrast in the way of aggressiveness. You didn't keep it simple with Skylar. You made it harder for Skylar, which I don't understand. I don't understand that at all. Make that one make sense for me. Blocking-wise, the Dolphins, we allowed 20 pressures yesterday. Liam Eichenberg allowed 7, 2 hits and 5 hurries. Greg Little allowed 4 hurries. Brandon Shell allowed 4 hurries. Robert Hunt, a sack, a hit, and a hurry. Connor Williams, a sack and a hurry. Not a good day for the offensive line. None of those are tight end or running back pressures that you can take off the offensive line. So, not good. Not good. All right, defensively. These were your highest graded. John Jenkins was your highest graded defender, and Jerome Baker was number 2. You know it's a bad day when. Christian Wilkins, number 3. Landon Roberts, number 4. Noah Benogany, number 5. At the bottom, Keon Crossan, your worst graded. Raekwon Davis, number 2. Verone McKinley, number 3. Kader Kohu, number 4. And Melvin Ingram, number 5. Not good. And look at the tackle grades. Look at the tackle grades. Unbelievable. Unbelievable poor tackling grades. When we saw that, I don't need PFF to tell me that. Been seeing that all year. Unreal. Now, defense. All right. Coverage matchups. Let's get into the coverage. Kader Kohu targeted 7 times, allowed 5 receptions for 39 yards. And he also had a drop. Hunter Henry had a drop. He allowed a first down as well. Jerome Baker targeted 5 times, allowed 4 receptions for 22 yards, a first down. But he had a pass breakup on Jacoby Myers. Eric Rowe targeted 5 times, allowed 3 receptions for 59 yards and 2 first downs. And he had a drop from Ramondre Stevenson. Keon Crossan targeted 4 times, allowed 1 reception, but he had that huge pass interference call. Allowed a first down on the 1 reception. Noah Benogany targeted 3 times, allowed 1 reception for 7 yards and a touchdown. Man, if that man would have turned his head on one of those targets, he would have been able to make a play on the ball. Javon Holland targeted twice, allowed 2 receptions for 28 yards and a first down. Jalen Phillips dropped back into coverage and targeted once, allowed 1 reception for 16 yards and a first. Andrew Van Ginkel into coverage, targeted once for 1 reception for 9 yards. Landon Roberts targeted once in coverage for 1 reception for 5 yards. Duke Riley targeted once in coverage because Boyer put everyone out of position, and it was for a touchdown. Why not? So those are your PFF grades. Not pretty by any stretch of the imagination. Not pretty at all. Speaking of not pretty, look at the passing charts. These are the passing charts from Next Gen Stats. We'll start off with Teddy Bridgewater here. Teddy, I mean, what do we say? 12 of 19. Not utilizing the middle of the field very much. Only 5 throws to the middle of the field. Not really much to talk about. Not much to talk about with Teddy's passing chart at all. Very basic. Not much to it. When you look at Mac Jones, Mac was at least spreading the ball around a little bit more. Now, both of his touchdowns, like Teddy, came inside of 10 yards, but at least he was spreading the ball a little bit more. He was 20 of 33 for 203 and 2 touchdowns. Again, touchdowns that situationally, especially that the Tyquan Thornton touchdown on Duke Riley? I mean, Boyer putting our defense, just hanging them out to dry. Just hanging them out to dry. Unreal. Not pretty to look at, that's for sure. Anyways, let's get into the next-gen stats from the actual game. Teddy Bridgewater, he had the longest completed air distance for the Dolphins and in the game at 41.8 yards, while Mac Jones, 36.4. Fastest ball carrier was Tyquan Thornton, got up to 19.33 miles per hour. Jalen Waddle turns up to 19.27. And again, don't y'all notice, unless Tua's in there, Jalen keeps disappearing. I don't know why our guys don't throw to Jalen Waddle. Tua's the only one who utilizes Jalen Waddle. It makes absolutely no sense. Zach Skylar, 3.7 seconds, was his fastest sack, and that was the fastest for the Dolphins, while Christian Barmore got there in about 4.5 seconds. Now, these are the passing charts I always show because it's a little bit different, right? They do 30 yards up here, right? They'll do plus 20 yards, right? So you see this, I mean, PFF had Skylar having attempts beyond 20, not next gen, right? So next gen had him 4 for 5 from 10 to 20 yards out. From the line of scrimmage to 10 yards out, they had him at 6 for 13. Behind the line of scrimmage, they had him 2 for 3. Skylar Thompson. Yeah, I don't know why they're not showing us Teddy there, but okay. Rushing, Jeffrey Wilson, 15 carries, 45 yards, found most of his success to the right side. Raheem Mostert, not a ton of success, and when it was in the interior to the left side, while Damian Harris found some success on the interior. Ramondre Stevenson found success in the interior against our defense as well. Receiving, the league average separation for receivers is about 2.93 yards. Durham Smythe was at about 4.35. Tyreek Hill, 3.27. Jalen Waddle, 2.88. Trent Sherfield, 2.26. And Mike Gesicki at 2.73. So we had 3 of those 5 above the league average. And yet Tyreek only finished with 4 catches for 55 yards. Tyquan Thornton, Jacoby Myers, they were not above, and Nelson Aguilar were not above the league average of separation for the Patriots, but Kendrick Bourne and Hunter Henry sure were. Now, defensive pass rush, Jalen Phillips returns to the top in terms of average separation from QB at 4.55 yards with Chubb out. Raekwon Davis at 4.85 is number 2. Sealer, number 3 at 4.91, and Wilkins at 5.22. The league average is 4.53, so we had no one above the league average. Everyone was behind the league average. While on the flip side, they had multiple people above the league average. Christian Barmore, 3.1 yards. Dietrich Wise, 4.3 yards. Josh Uche, 4.33 yards. So they had 3 of their top 4 guys were above the league average in terms of average separation from the QB. Judon was the only one behind. Way to go, offensive line. Way to go. Now, something I've been talking about, and they definitely weren't to blame for yesterday. That's for sure. You're not going to hear me put the blame on the defense for yesterday. I don't think they were to blame. I think anyone blaming them for the loss would be absolutely asinine. Okay? But listen. Let's just get into it, man. Let's get into it. We've been talking about the defense here. The defense is not to blame for yesterday's loss, but You know, people want to absolve the defense of everything here, which I don't understand, because heading into this game, we had the 28th passing defense, the 21 total defense, the 10th rushing defense, which is good, and the 27th scoring defense, and we were 30th in takeaways, and we had the 25th third down defense. Well, our offense was number 5 total offense, number 2 passing offense, number 9 scoring offense. We were 11 in sacks allowed. Okay, 27th rushing offense, so that's bad. But clearly, I don't understand why people want to keep absolving the defense. You know, because we either have personnel mistakes or Boyer putting them in a position to be unsuccessful. And that is a recipe for a disaster, okay? So, how Dolphins defense has failed in every moment of truth in the skid. Personnel notes. Now, let's be clear. The Dolphins offense shoulders much of the blame for the team's collapse from 8-3 to 8-8. During this ongoing 5-game losing streak, Miami has averaged 20.8 points, a figure that would rank 21st in the league during the entire season, and is significantly below the 24.1 points that the Dolphins have averaged overall this season, 10th best in the NFL. But this also has been established. The defense cannot be trusted in moments of truth. During the 5-game skid, Miami's defense has allowed long, clock-chewing, point-producing fourth-quarter drives in all of them. Consider, against the 49ers, after the Dolphins failed to convert a fourth down when trailing 23-17 and 6:03 left, the Dolphins defense allowed a 10-play, 34-yard drive, taking up 3:57, highlighted by a Christian McCaffrey 30-yard run, setting up a Robbie Gould field goal that pushed the 49ers lead to 26-17 with 2:03 left and essentially settled matters. Against the Chargers, the Dolphins punted when trailing 20-14 with 11:09 left. The Chargers then drove 79 yards on 17 plays, chewing up 8:39 of the 11:09 on the clock, with Justin Herbert completing 5 of 6 passes during that stretch to go along with a 10-yard run and Oscar Eckler scampering for 10 and 12-yard runs. Along the way, Los Angeles converted a 3rd and 5, a 3rd and 3, a 3rd and 8. That drive ended with a 28-yard Cameron Dicker field goal that made it 23-14 with 2:40 left and essentially sealed the game. Against the Bills, after punting from the Bills 43 in a tie game with 6:04 left, Miami watched Buffalo go 86 yards on 15 plays in 6:04 to set up Tyler Bass's 25-yard game-winning field goal as time expired. On that drive, Devin Singletary ran 6 times for 34 yards, and Josh Allen was 4 for 5 for 40 yards and picked up a key 20-yard pass interference penalty on Kader Kohou. In the Green Bay game, after Tua Tagovailoa interception at the Green Bay 30 with 6:07 left and the Dolphins down 23-20, the Packers drove 56 yards on 9 plays, taking up 4 minutes of the 6:07 left to set up Mason Crosby's 26-yard field goal and made it 26-20 with 2:02 left. Aaron Rodgers completed 2 passes for 35 yards, and Aaron Jones burst out on an 18-yard run on that drive. Against a subpar New England offense, the Dolphins again on Sunday capitulated. Down 16-14 with 9:43 left, Miami allowed New England to march 89 yards on 11 plays, using up 5 minutes for a game-sealing touchdown. Mac Jones completed 5 of 7 passes for 51 yards and a touchdown and drew a Keon Crossan 22-yard pass interference penalty on that drive. In the Dolphins defense, they played all 5 of these losses without Byron Jones, Nick Needham, Emmanuel Ogbah, and Brandon Jones, and on Sunday, we're also without Howard and Chubb. Nevertheless, the lesson to emerge is self-evident. The Dolphins defense cannot be trusted with the game on the line. Overall, the defense is allowing 24.6 points per game, 27th in the league. In general, look at this. So, right here. So, we're scoring 20.8 points per game on this 5-game skid, which is 21st in the NFL. The problem is, even at 21st in the NFL, we are allowing 24.6 points per game, which is 27th in the NFL. In general, we're not playing as well as we should be with the talent that we have, with the coaching staff that we have, with the bond that we have. The Jets at Dolphins game will be played at 1 p.m. Sunday on Fox. At the same time, the Patriots are playing Buffalo on CBS. Miami needs to win, and Patriots lost at Buffalo to make the playoffs. Notable snap counts on offense Sunday. Tight end Durham Smythe plays more snaps than Mike Gesicki for the 5th game in a row, but Gesicki's 30 were his most during this 5-game losing streak. Unbelievable. So, man, look at what he said. In general, we're not playing as well as we should be with the talent we have, with the coaching staff we have, and the bond we have, Jalen Phillips says. That's on both sides of the ball right now, kid. That ain't even just one side of the ball. That is both sides of the football right now. That is both sides of the football. So, I don't know, man. Just a quick update for you guys. Because I know I saw someone in the comments asking earlier, why do we get away from the run? And I had to talk with someone in the building. And, right now we are just in true pass sets. Right now we are the second worst offensive line in the NFL in true pass sets, right? So, I've also was told in terms of just running the football, we don't have the personnel to execute what we want to execute in the run game consistently. You guys got to remember Robert Jones. There was only three choices actually. Well, and one doesn't really count. There's only three guys that were McDaniel's choices on that offensive line, if you think about it. Taron Armstead, Connor Williams, and then Brandon Shell as a free agent. Liam Eichenberg, not his choice. Austin Jackson, not his choice. Robert Jones, not his choice. Robert Hunt, not his choice. And these are power gap guys. So, we'll see how it works out. But right now, that offensive line has got to get better, especially with Skylar starting this weekend. We can't trot out the 31st ranked. You can't play like the 31st ranked offensive line this weekend. All right, in terms of McDaniel's press conference that happened just a little over an hour ago. All right. McDaniel updates the quarterback situation. In 5 painful weeks, the Dolphins have gone from talking Super Bowl to needing a 7th-round rookie quarterback or an injured veteran to save their season. They have gone from being in an ideal playoff situation at 8-3 to 8-8 and needing a Patriots loss to even keep alive any postseason chances. And they have gone from one of the NFL's best quarterback situations this season to one of the most precarious entering Sunday's finale against the Jets at Hard Rock Stadium. Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel said Monday that he expects either rookie Skylar Thompson or injured veteran Teddy Bridgewater to start Saturday. I'm preparing for Skylar and Teddy. In an ideal world, I'm hoping I had the starter isolated on Wednesday in a perfect world. McDaniel said Bridgewater had a dislocated pinky, which forced him to leave the Patriots game in the third quarter, but that he hasn't been ruled out for Sunday. We'll see as the swelling goes down during the week where he's at, McDaniel said. He thought he possibly could go back into the game Wednesday. I should have more information on that. Tua Tagovailoa remains in concussion protocol, and it sounds like he won't play Sunday, though McDaniel would not say that definitively. McDaniel said he's not discussing Tagovailoa's status because doctors have told him that discussing anything but what we're doing that day makes his recovery worse as a human being. No timeline has been discussed. Even when Tagovailoa discusses his status with McDaniel, I feel compelled every conversation to reiterate there's no such thing as a timeline. It's about today. If he's thinking about going there, I snuffed that out. Fox's Jay Glazer reported that the Dolphins' hypothetical first-round playoff game is Tagovailoa's targeted return. McDaniel declined to address that, saying, I don't have a timeline, unfortunately. McDaniel said Tagovailoa told him he felt good Monday. Thompson had his own minor injury Sunday, a bloody fingernail. He started to find himself a little bit in the fourth quarter, McDaniel said. He's such a rhythm player. He generally gets the ball out pretty quickly. He got better as the game progressed, which I do agree with that. Thompson has struggled in 4 appearances with 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, and a 56.2 passer rating. The Dolphins are exploring adding another veteran quarterback this week, McDaniel confirmed. Among other injuries, McDaniel said backup offensive Kendall Lamb is likely out Sunday, and left tackle Taron Armstead, linebacker Bradley Chubb, and Xavier Howard remain up in the air for Sunday. All 3 of those players missed the Patriots game. Howard injured his knee when he had a knee-to-knee collision with another player in practice last Thursday. If the Dolphins can't rally to make the playoffs, they would join the 93 team, which collapsed from 8-3 to 8-8, as the embodiments of the biggest late-season implosions. 4 teams are competing for the NFL's final wildcard spot in the AFC. The Dolphins make it with a win against the Jets and a New England loss in Buffalo. The NFL scheduled the Patriots Bills for 1 p.m. on CBS, while the Dolphins and Jets play 1 p.m. on Fox. The Patriots make the playoffs with a win in Buffalo. If the Patriots lose in Buffalo, they still get the final AFC playoff seed with losses by the Dolphins and the Steelers, and a Jacksonville win over Tennessee. The Steelers make it with a win against Cleveland and losses by New England and Miami. The Jaguars claim the only AFC wildcard spot if they lose to Tennessee on Saturday, and if the Patriots, Dolphins, and Steelers all lose on Sunday. The team that claims the final wildcard playoff spot will open the postseason at the AFC's number 2 seed. The NFL scheduled the Kansas City at Las Vegas game at 4:30 p.m. Saturday, and that's potentially problematic for the Dolphins. If the Bills lose at Cincinnati in Monday's late game, then Kansas City could clinch the 1 seed and a first-round bye with a win against the Raiders. That would potentially give Bills far less incentive in their game against the Patriots, though they would still be battling Cincinnati for the number 2 seed and a home game in a second weekend playoff game. And Miami needs a motivated Buffalo to increase the chances of Buffalo beating New England. If Bills win on Monday and a Kansas City win on Saturday, would give Buffalo a chance to clinch the number 1 seed with a win against New England on Sunday. Whatever happens Sunday, this cannot be denied. The 8-8 Dolphins in a month have gone from a very good team to a mediocre one. For the season, they have been outscored 393 to 386. They're 27th in defense. They have thrown 3 more touchdowns than their opponents, 30 to 27, but have also thrown 7 more interceptions, 15 to 8. They're allowing opponents to convert 41.5% on third down while converting 36.6 on their own, a subpar 24 in both categories. They rush for 4.3 yards per carry and allow 4.3 per carry. They have had 325 first downs, and their opponents have had 325 first downs. They're bottom 7 in the league in kickoff returns and opponent punt and kickoff returns. They have 106 penalties, 26 more than their opponents. We've had key players make mistakes in crucial situations where we've had the lead late in the third quarter and lost them, McDaniel said. What does it mean for this week? Absolutely nothing unless you let it. Among those mistakes, a coverage breakdown in Jacoby Myers' 1-yard touchdown pass to seal New England's win in the fourth quarter on Sunday. When we came out of the huddle, half the defense saw it one way and half the defense saw it as another. We have a coaching staff accountable to say, how can this be better communicated, or have we worked on this enough? Bottom line is, we didn't get it done. McDaniel put it this way on Monday. We have one game against the Jets. I don't look at we could have, would have, whatever. This is our journey. All my message to the team is it's been a tough 5 consecutive weeks for sure. Unless it gets us asterisk points about the Jets, why even think about it? So he has told you the defensive staff is accountable for that play where we saw Duke Riley out of position. No one knew what the hell was happening. Blah, 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 blah. I don't know. Don't know what to tell you. The offense is competitive now over the last 5 weeks. You know, I think it did enough to win in Buffalo. I really do. Now, the concussion and everything, the offense ended up... They did enough for the first 3 quarters against Green Bay, and then they let us down. And they cost us that game. You know, I don't think either one of the last 2 games have been on the defense by any stretch of the imagination. So, you know, but I do agree. Our defense does allow game sealing, game clinching, it's over, fourth quarter drives that just don't help the situation. But it is what it is, man. We are going to have to get it done this weekend. And you got to let the cards fall as they may. We controlled our destiny for so long. For so long. And we let that slip away. This team has no one to blame by themselves. If Jim Harbaugh replaces Mike McDaniel has no one else to blame but himself. If they move off of Tua Tagovailoa this offseason, listen, I think they should give him another year. But if they move off of him, it's going to be for health reasons and because they can't rely on it. Look it. Do you realize we spent all this money on backup quarterbacks and the only guy who could win a game, and it took Tyrod Taylor's worst career game against the Dolphins to do it, was Jacoby Brissett? You've paid all this money for backup quarterbacks over the last 2 years, and you could win One game. One game. And you've had like 9 or 10 of them. And you've been able to win one game. One. 2 different regimes. Same freaking results. While you got other teams out here, Mahomes goes down. A couple years ago, Chad Henne could win games. Jalen Hurts goes down, and Gardner Minshew makes the Eagles competitive against the Cowboys. And quite frankly, listen, I said this before, and I'll say it again. Yesterday was the game we needed. Listen, when are we going to get a game where this defense only allows 10 or 13 points? When are we going to get that? Because we would get it under Flores every now and then when we needed it. We don't get it under Boyer. Dude, this season has exposed Boyer that was Flores' defense. That was not yours. And we were all talking about it heading into this season, that's something we were watching out for. Would this season expose Boyer as a DC and proved all of us that it was Flores that made that defense what it was? And it was. Because I don't want to hear about the injuries. Look at how good that defense has been at home compared, other than yesterday where they only allowed 16 points. Other than yesterday, that defense has not traveled well at all. And that's a Boyer thing. That's not a personnel thing. Because if the personnel can be lights out at home, that tells you. And really, that defense should have only allowed 9 points, but Boyer put him in a bad situation on that touchdown where there was no coverage out to the left side. Should have won that game yesterday, man. Unbelievable. All right, me and Martin, we'll be back tomorrow. We're going to break down the film. You already know what time it is. Me and Martin will be back down. We're going to break down some of Teddy's plays, some of Skylar's plays, and we're going to look at the offensive line on some plays too. So be on the lookout for that. We'll be live around 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Appreciate each and every one of you for coming through. Smash that like button on the way out, please. Listen, even if you need the blue pill, fins up all day, every day. I will see all of y'all on the next one. Appreciate each and every one of you. Fins up.